With up to 12 million Americans suffering from fibromyalgia, Pati Chandler's wisdom, experience, and helpful insights are highly sought after. Diagnosed in 1998, Pati has spent much of the last 20 years researching the condition and finding needed solutions on how to live a quality life even with fibromyalgia. Good to have you with us today, Pati.
Thank
So
you.
12 million affected here in the U.S. I'm sure the global population is
it's a lot more than that.
much, much higher.
When you get on the internet, Facebook and so on, there are people from the UK, Australia, Europe, France, everywhere talking about it.
So exactly what is fibromyalgia, and is this something that's fairly new, or is this a condition that's been around for some time?
Well, it's blossomed. It's been around, but known by other names, but not quite this same kind of thing. The thing about fibromyalgia, it is a chronic pain syndrome, but that's the key word there, is a syndrome. A syndrome is a collection of symptoms. And that's what's so crazy about fibromyalgia, is that chronic pain is the key, but you also have total and utter exhaustion from expending no energy at all. You also have sleep issues. You have anxiety and depression. Well, just by being tired and in pain all the time, you get this depression hanging over you. The diagnostic of it is for 3 months of pain. And if you've had 3 months of pain and the doctor diagnoses you with fibromyalgia, you're going to be tired and sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
And that naturally leads to anxiety and depression and sadness and so on. But along with all these others, there's up to 100 different other symptoms. There's cognitive issues, there's equilibrium issues, there's hormonal issues, there's immune system issues, which means that you're pretty much subject to anything coming along down the pike. There's eye, skin, all kinds of other things that come up. The equilibrium issues I found was really quite, I kept running into doorways. I'd get up out of the car and lose my balance and had to hang onto the door to get back in the car. Walking into the kitchen, I'd turn a corner and my right shoulder was always banged
Just
up.
the corner.
So how long did you have this before you got a doctor to really diagnose it?
Well, you know what? I think I had it for about 5 years before it was actually diagnosed. I didn't really pay a lot of attention to it. I was getting older. People get older. They get,
Did you
they
think
get
it just might be
forgetful and
part
things.
of,
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, I
something
have
that everyone
arthritis
deals with?
also.
Okay.
And so I was thinking, well, the muscle aches come along with the joint aches. But that's not really typical with arthritis. It's just joint pain. The other thing is I was having cognitive issues. And I would forget things. I would transpose letters and numbers. I would be on my way someplace, forget where I was going. There were times I'd forget how to get home. That would bring on an anxiety attack.
Sure.
All these things, I was thinking wildly that, okay, maybe I'm getting early onset Alzheimer's. I wasn't thinking straight. I'd be in the middle of talking with somebody and I'd forget where I was going with what I was saying. And I thought, well, that's normal. I'm getting older. That's, right? And the other thing is that I started feeling like I might have had MS because my arms, the size of my legs were so, I couldn't control them. I could hardly lift my arm to pick up a glass out of the cupboard. To go down or up a step, I'd almost have to lift my leg because my muscles weren't working. They weren't going where I wanted them to, as I was telling them to go. So here we are. I've had this chronic pain, just aching, feeling like I've been tumbled around in a mixmaster for a while. And I don't know where that come from. It's like I just rolled down 2 flights of concrete steps, and I wake up in the morning and I didn't do anything to make this pain. It's not like I banged into something. And it's just one thing and another, and I was really scared about telling the doctor all these things. I thought he was going to think I was a hypochondriac.
Right.
I mean,
there's too many symptoms.
Right,
all
exactly.
kinds of things
just too
going on.
many.
Yeah.
My hormones were going nuts. Of course, it was just. My hands were cold. My nose was cold. I was sensitive to light, heat. Smells used to still do. Smells bother me. Odors. Some make me actually nauseous. Some actually create pain. Clorox, pain, these things that get into your system. And you get into an elevator with someone with perfume. It used to bother me, because it was just annoying. But now, when I get into an elevator with someone with a strong perfume, my arms would start to ache, my head would start to ache, my eyes would water, just all kinds of symptoms would come on and I'd have to get out of that elevator.
So living with the condition of fibromyalgia since '98, how have you coped with it? Have you, I know, like I said, you've done a lot of research.
Right.
Have you found kind of certain keys or insights as to how to, minimize the consequences of it?
I have, actually. I found that diet is a huge part of it, a huge part of it. Finding the right doctor was always also a very biggie there. And like I said, I went to like 5 or 6 doctors before I found the one that diagnosed me. But once he diagnosed me, I had something to work with. And I started reading and studying. I was online all the time. I found every book I could. Of course, back in 13 years ago, there was hardly anything out there. But I did find out that things like aspartame, MSG, nitrates. Nitrates are preservatives that are found in like hot dogs and bologna, salami, things like that. All these things that I had been eating all my life now are affecting me totally different. And it was like, for example, okay, I've been eating this, I've been eating that. Now my body is different and it's reacting differently to these things. So I had to find out what things.
Yeah.
So it was
triggers,
trial and error.
right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
They're triggers and aggravators is key word there. The things that I found were aspartame, and I found aspartame by eating something I thought was healthy. I was eating low-fat yogurt.
Oh, wow.
And the low-fat yogurt was sugar-free. And I found that I was eating it every day because I thought the yogurt was good for me, right? Okay. Well, somebody said something about aspartame being in that yogurt, and I thought, aspartame, So for 3 days, I stopped eating any yogurt at all, just, going off the deep end the other way. A lot of my pain left. Then I went back and I thought, okay, well, let's do this a regular test. So I had one the next day. My pain came back like in a couple of hours. And I thought, okay, aspartame's a trigger for me. That's what they call an elimination diet. You stop eating something and you find out that it's not, it actually, you get better.
So what should we be eating instead?
Whole foods.
Whole foods.
Raw foods. God gave us all we need. It's all right here that's grown in the ground. When you go into a grocery store, you want to shop around the outer edge. There you're going to find fruits,
produce,
vegetables. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Meats.
Right, exactly. And wash them really good because they do spray them and so on. But still, you're still getting the fruits and the vegetables. And you're getting the vitamins you need. You're getting the B vitamins that are good for pain, the minerals that you need. You're getting antioxidants. Antioxidants are super important for fibromyalgia. The more antioxidants you get in your system, the better.
Let me ask you about, I'm kind of getting this picture that you were out there doing research, finding out once it was properly diagnosed what exactly was causing all this. Were there support groups at that time? Are there support groups now? Is it important for someone who is suffering with fibromyalgia to kind of be able to get plugged in that way?
I think it's extremely important. When I first got it, there weren't any. The only thing I had was online reading that this is sometimes found, this is sometimes found. But there were no groups even online, no discussions of any kind. So all I had to go by was what I was feeling and what I was experiencing. Well, after I wrote my first book and then my second book, I started up a fibromyalgia support group here in town. And I learned about other people's fibromyalgia. Everybody experiences it differently, and I never realized how differently. For example, one of the ladies in my support group had gluten and lactose intolerance. I never knew that was a part of fibromyalgia until after I started my group. Gluten can be extremely devastating to the pain. And lactose intolerance, gives gastrointestinal issues, bloating, just all kinds of nasty things. Other people are saying that they don't have that issue, but they have this other issue, or they have that other issue. They have sleep issues. They have sleep apnea. They have all these other things going on. And if you don't get the proper sleep, you can't heal yourself.
Right.
In the book, too, Patty, you talked a little bit about exercise, and it really seemed tricky to strike that balance between too little exercise and too much.
Exactly. I got to a point where I could hardly move, and I was hurting so badly. When somebody says exercise, I'm picturing jumping jacks and Tai Bo and all this. Oh, no, you're not going to get me doing that. I couldn't do it in the first place. But what I did was I walked a little bit, and then I walked a little bit more. I walked to the end of my block, and then I had to sit down because I was so tired, and my body just was I just sat on the curb and rested, and then I walked back to the home. And then I walked that end of the block again, and so on, for 3 or 4 days. Then the next day I walked a little bit more, and I came back, and I came a little bit more, and so on. So I build up very slowly. And even today, I can only walk half a mile at a time before my leg gives out. And that's simply because the tender points that I talk about in the book, there's 18 of them, they lock up. They're at junctures where muscles roll over each other, and those tender points will lock up at any given point. And a lot of people, it happens in their neck. A lot of people have neck pain. That's where mine actually started, was in my neck. A doctor gave me trigger point injections where a small needle went right into those tender points and relaxed those muscles. But I don't have somebody to do that when my leg gives out when I'm walking. So I walk the half mile and I walk back, and then later on in the day I'll walk another half mile. And so I do get some exercise that way.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us today, Patti. And if you'd like to connect with Pati Chandler, the website is managingfibromyalgia.com. You can also go to harvest-tv.com. Her latest release is Fibromyalgia Basics, a beginner's guide. A lot of great information there. And we've got a lot more coming your way here on Harvest with Brian Bush in just a little bit.